The city hummed with a frenetic energy, but I felt utterly alone. The bright lights blurred into streaks of color as I walked the familiar streets. Each step was heavy, weighed down by the secret I carried. My reflection in a shop window startled me. Sunken eyes stared back, a stranger in the place of the vibrant young man I used to be. Addiction had taken root, its tendrils slowly choking the life out of me. I ducked into a dingy alleyway, the darkness a perverse comfort. I fumbled for my drugs, each movement mechanical, devoid of joy. A wave of shame washed over me as I prepared another hit. I knew this wasn't living. It was merely existing, a prisoner in my own mind. The guilt was a heavy weight, but not enough to make me stop. Not yet. The drugs provided a temporary escape, a numbing of the pain that gnawed at me. But the relief was fleeting, always followed by a deeper despair. The city, once a symbol of opportunity and excitement, now mocked me with its unattainable promise of happiness. I was lost in a labyrinth of my own making, the walls closing in. I could barely remember the last time I had laughed, truly laughed. The memories of my old life seemed like scenes from a forgotten movie, faded and distant. I used to be so full of life, my days filled with the warmth of family and friends, the thrill of pursuing my passions. Now my world had shrunk to the size of my next fix. My family had tried to reach me, their voices laced with worry and pleading, but their words seemed to come from a distant echo chamber, unable to penetrate the fog of addiction. I had pushed them away, my shame and fear creating an impenetrable wall. I couldn't bear to see the disappointment in their eyes, the reflection of the man I had become. The physical toll of my addiction was undeniable. My once athletic frame had grown thin and gaunt, my skin sallow and unhealthy. Sleep eluded me, replaced by restless nights haunted by shadows and regrets. The drugs had promised me oblivion, but delivered only a twisted, agonizing existence. The insistent ringing of my phone pierced through my drug-induced haze. I let it go to voicemail, the sound an unwelcome intrusion on my self-imposed isolation. But the caller was persistent. Finally, with a groan, I answered, my voice raspy and unfamiliar. It was my recovery coach, his voice filled with a mix of relief and desperation. He hadn't given up on me. His words, though filled with concern, were free of judgment. He spoke of love, of hope, of a life beyond the darkness that had consumed me. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, a flicker of hope ignited within me. His voice broke through the barriers I had so carefully erected around myself. His belief in me, even when I had lost faith in myself, was a lifeline. I confessed my struggles, the words tumbling out in a torrent of shame and regret. And as I spoke, a weight began to lift from my shoulders. I was taking the first step, reaching out from the abyss.
The decision to seek help was terrifying, a leap into the unknown. But it was a terror laced with a sliver of hope, a belief that maybe, just maybe, things could be different.
My recovery coach had researched recovery centers, his love propelling him to find a safe haven for me. He had found a place that promised not judgment, but understanding and support.
The car ride to the center was a blur of emotions. Fear battled with anticipation, doubt wrestled with hope. As they pulled up to the building, a wave of panic washed over Alex.
I almost told my recovery coach to turn around, to take me back to the familiar misery of my apartment, but his unwavering gaze gave me the strength to keep going.
Stepping inside, he was greeted by a sense of calm he hadn't felt in what seemed like forever. The air was filled with the soft murmur of conversations, the scent of freshly brewed coffee. The staff welcomed him with warm smiles and kind eyes, their demeanor devoid of the judgment he had feared.
Welcome, Alex. We're glad you're here.
For the first time, he allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't beyond saving. The first few days at the recovery center were a whirlwind of new routines and unfamiliar faces. Group therapy sessions were initially daunting.
I hesitated to share my story, afraid of judgment, afraid of the raw emotions that bubbled beneath the surface.
But as he listened to others, their honesty and vulnerability resonated with him. He heard stories of despair and loss, of battles fought and victories won. He saw reflections of his struggles in their eyes, heard echoes of his pain in their voices.
We all have our stories, Alex. Sharing them can be a powerful step towards healing.
And in their shared experiences, he found a sense of belonging he had almost forgotten existed. The shame that had haunted him for so long began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of shared humanity.
The days were structured, a comforting rhythm to combat the chaos that had defined my life for so long. Therapy sessions were interspersed with art classes, meditation, and outdoor activities.
The counselors, with their compassionate guidance and unwavering support, helped him navigate the difficult emotions that surfaced. He was learning to confront his demons, to understand the root of his addiction, to forgive himself.
Remember, Alex, it's a journey. Each step you take is progress.
And with each passing day, Alex took another step towards reclaiming his life.